Welcome back to the upper tier, everybody. This is your Premier League preview, match week 27. Joining me, as always, on the previews, my partner in crime, the Dazzler. Darren, how are we?
I'm all good, brother. I am all good.
Absolutely. Let's get into this straight away then. Lunchtime Saturday, Leeds United versus Tottenham. Two teams struggling for very different reasons.
Well, two teams struggling, but one team really, really struggling. 10 goals in 2 games for Leeds. This is really, really poor. Spurs obviously, Burnley can do that to teams. They've done it to teams before. They've done it at Anfield before. They've done it at Old Trafford before. Burnley can churn out those types of results. So the Spurs result wasn't as big a shock maybe to us as it was to some other people. But like Leeds, 10 goals in 2 games, getting absolutely walloped by United and by Liverpool. This has to be confidence and soul destroying at this stage, for a team already devoid of a whole lot of confidence. Like I can see Spurs getting back onto winning ways here, if I'm honest, because I just think with the likes of Kane and Son and Kulusevski and Mora, there's going to be way too much firepower on this pitch for Leeds.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I wanted to win the other night from Liverpool to beat them as well, I really felt bad for the young lad Meslier in goals. I mean, he was just picking the ball out of the back of the net. And I said on the match reaction as well, 6 didn't even flatter. It flattered Leeds more than it flattered Liverpool, because it could have been 10 or 11, to be honest, with some of the chances that we missed as well. So very, very poor at the moment from Leeds. Serious trouble there and in major free fall at the moment.
They've a lot of injuries at the minute, which is compounding their misery.
The whole spine of the team, right? The whole
spine of the team, absolutely. I mean, they've gone the whole season almost without the boy Bamford. In the last season, what did he score? Did he score about 16 Premier League goals?
Yeah.
Like 16 Premier League goals is big money in today's market, pal. If somebody could guarantee you 16 league goals, you're paid 40 to 50 million for that.
Especially at Leeds' level, and no disrespect them, but 16 goals in the Premier League to Leeds is massive.
Massive.
Were you surprised they didn't do more business in January?
I suppose I listened to a little bit of the commentary on Sunday at the United game, and the talk was that the money doesn't seem to be there. That, everybody's been hit so hard with COVID and stuff like that the owners literally didn't have anything to go out and make improvements with. Failing maybe, selling one or two when your squad's looking like Leeds squad at the minute, selling somebody is absolutely gonna, rip the soul out of the team, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we mentioned even maybe going for a couple of loan moves out of the Championship or something like that. Maybe teams that aren't necessarily in the shake-up, in that kind of area. But as much as Leeds, I mean, if you look at the quality that's there at the moment, they needed to bring in bodies, didn't they? Like, because they're so stretched.
He did, and I suppose the other thing about that is, he's such a fickle manager, Bielsa. He wants people, he only wants a certain kind of player. He only wants players that can do a certain thing. So even to get him to sign up and say, well, I'll have A and I'll have B and I'll have C, like, I can't believe, like, I've mentioned this before, how Newcastle, how Burnley, how Leeds, how nobody decided, I'm going to go after the boy Ben Brereton Diaz. He's only 6 months left on the deal at Blackburn. You'd have got him for less than 10 million. He's a guarantee of goals. An absolute. If you can create him chances, he'll guarantee you goals. Fact. And
you get the money back hand over fist by just remaining in the Premier League. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. And like, don't forget, there's a lot of really good footballers in that Championship. I mean, why weren't Leeds in for the boy Carvalho at the type of value that he was going for? Now obviously when the summer comes along and there's much bigger fish circle, and obviously Liverpool are very interested. I think United now apparently are very interested. There's other clubs, abroad, Dortmund I've heard as well, who are also looking at this kid.
From what I'm hearing, the deal with Liverpool is already in place. They just haven't said anything. That's what I'm hearing.
Right.
Apparently Liverpool have actually tied down the deal, but they just didn't want to get into it in January. But the deal is there, done and stamped, apparently, just to be ratified, if you like, in the summer. That's what I'm reading anyway. I don't know how true that is now, but that's the talk.
Well, and listen, if that happens, that happens. But I still think Leeds should have been in for guys. They should have been able to get enough on the table to get somebody in to give the lads a hand. You know what I mean? Like, look at how little football the boy Gelhardt has. Like, he's in his infancy of his career. He's a £1 million signing from Wigan.
Yeah.
You're bringing him on against Man United and expect him to change the game. Like, come on, lads. It's just not gonna work.
And he's a tidy little player who looks like he's going to have a big future. He's a nice little baller.
Absolutely. But you know what? Yeah. He needs 2 or 3 seasons in that championship to just battle harden him a little bit and to let him learn his craft. By the time he's 21, 22, there's going to be money on the table from him. I don't doubt that.
Yeah, I thought they would have went in and got on loan even a couple of, brazen big centre backs out of the championship or something like that. Something just to shore things up a little bit. They're so bad at the back. Like
listen, it stems from obviously the boy Calvin Phillips not being there, doesn't it? He's the crown jewel at Leeds, him and Rafinha. And obviously he's not sitting in front of that back four now, so the screen isn't happening the way it was happening previously. And I think when you take him out of the side and you see how poor they are, you realise the impact he has on them and the impact he could have on another team then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From a Leeds point of view, because let's not pull any punches here. If Leeds don't stay in this league, Phillips and Rafinha will have to head out the door. That's 100 million's worth.
Absolutely. And I tell you, there'll be a bunch of teams coming in for that Gelhardt guy as well.
Well, you see, I think he'll probably go drop into the championship and it'd be ideal for him, And you don't need to necessarily sell a guy that's going to cost, you're going to get 1 or 2 million off when you've just sold 2 big lads for 100 million.
Yeah, but you might be able to convince him to go. And if you convince him to go and you pick him up handy, even if you wanted to do as you said with the plan, let's suppose a United or a Liverpool picked him up and then load him out to a championship side for a season.
Lead him back to Leeds.
If it's
let him stay with Leeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, let him stay with Leeds. There's 5 million on the table, lads. You can have him back for the next 18 months and then we'll take him off your hands.
Be great, shrewd bit of business, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
What are you going for in this one?
I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs.
Yeah, sounds about right. All right. Let's move on then. Brentford versus Newcastle.
Yeah, much tougher game to call this. I think Newcastle, they're hanging in there, aren't they? They're really, really toughing it out. I think Howe has done a good job at the minute. He really has. Very unlucky with the injury to Kieran Trippier.
Yeah.
It was really looking like a smashing signing. Wood hasn't really hit the ground yet. But certainly from a goals point of view, I know some of the play is good and he's able to get other guys into the game. Because most of the time he's pinning 2 centre backs in, which is creating space here and there for guys to get around them.
Maximum and all, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, they even missed out on him last week. He was injured last week at West Ham, wasn't he? It was the boy Joe Willock that got the goal and stuff like that. But yeah, I think Newcastle could win this, I think this is going to be tough for Brentford. But I do expect to see goals. And I think, actually maybe I'm going to go score draw. I'm going score draw.
This is the one. This is Eriksen's return, isn't it? This is what they're pinning it on. I read it the other day.
Supposedly, yeah.
Supposed to be coming back for this one. I'd love to see him back for this one. It'd be great. And if he is back from this one, I want Brentford to win. And I want him to get the winner.
You're a real romantic about this, Niall, aren't you?
I am. I like a comeback story. I do like
listen, I do myself, but I don't know. I don't even think if he gets into the first squad, if he'll play this day. Do you know what I mean? I think if he gets into a squad, it might be just come on and get involved in the match day squad. Maybe the first day he doesn't play at all. Maybe the second day he gets 15. Maybe the third day he gets half an hour, and then maybe he gets you know what I mean? I still think they'll drip feed this. I don't think you're going to see. You certainly won't see him start, and I think if you see him have any more than half an hour, I'd be surprised.
Yeah. And Brentford are struggling big time, aren't they?
Absolutely. The goals have dried up massively.
What are you going, Newcastle 2-1?
No, I'll go 1-1.
1-1, you're going for a draw.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go on a away win for Newcastle 2-1, but if Eriksen is there, I'll flip it. All right.
2 goals swing with Eriksen.
I'll flip it in the comments. Next up, Brighton versus Villa.
Yeah, I suppose Stevie hasn't really had it all his own way the last few weeks, has he?
Yeah,
couple of really poor performances.
Project Villa has kind of hit the brakes a little bit, hasn't it?
Little bit, yeah, just a little bit. Again, I think Stevie fell to something very, very similar that Dean Smith felt it. We spoke about this, which, knowing what your best team was, and then when you add players to it and you try to accommodate players, and all of a sudden your team's not as good as it was previously, too many options sometimes, and trying to shoehorn lads into spaces that maybe it doesn't work for them, and I've seen them a couple of times and they're playing with both Buendia and Coutinho, and it's basically playing 2 number 10s and 1 number 9.
It's the thing we spoke about on the match reaction for Atletico, isn't it? It's the Fernandes Ronaldo conundrum, isn't it? It's like that they're occupying that same space.
Yeah. Well, like these guys are two number 10s. That's I don't think you can get away. Like, I think with the other two boys, operating the space is one thing, but these guys are just like, it makes no sense to have 2 10s and 1 9 because the 10 has got to feed the 9. And if there's 2 of them and 1 of him, it's not going to work. I think he needs to pick either Buendia or Coutinho and play them in behind Ings and Watkins and play that as a triangle. Now, listen, if that's what's happening, Buendia has to take a seat. Let him be the impact for a little while. Have Coutinho behind Ings and Watkins and play your 2 up top, which are 10 behind. Pack your 3 in the midfield. You're going with Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, and the boy Jacob Ramsey. Yeah. And then your flat back 4 and your keeper and roll the dice there. But he's trying to get 2 guys into the same team and it's not working. It didn't work when they tried to get him and Lampard and Scholes and, all into the same midfield. This is the same thing. It's not working.
Yeah, he should know better.
He should, absolutely. Yeah.
What are you going for in this one?
I'm going to go score draw as well. I'm going to go 1-1 again.
I'm thinking a score draw, but I'm thinking 2-2.
Okay.
I think there might be a few goals.
That's what the ballerina said, 2-2.
2-2. Palace versus Burnley.
Yeah, great win for
Sean Dyche on the survival track.
He's just able to roll, just churn out results, isn't he, when it gets to this time of the year?
His L1 has to be lighting candles in the church somewhere. The times he escapes.
You look at it and you go, a game like the other night, and obviously, other than the Spurs thing being Spurs, you look at that and you go, it's only one winner here. Look at these 2 squads. Look at, everything. You think it's only one. But you've seen them do it before where you thought, no, yeah, this is nailed on to be such and such. This is nailed on to be such and such.
We called on the preview. Remember?
And they just get results and you go, Jesus, this is, if you could, I think this is going to be a good game, if I'm honest. I really do. I think obviously Dyche was watching or was listening to the podcast. And he realised, if I want to win games of football here, I have to go in with McNeil and Cornet.
Going to have to play a bit of ball and stop just putting up 2 brick walls. Go play a bit of football for a change of try and reach
and I mean, they're well able to. And to be honest with you, they're a good back 5, including the keeper. Yeah. They're solid. Do you know what I mean? They're not flashy, but they are solid. They'll puff their heads in the way. They'll block stuff. They've got a great line. Like, I think this is going to be a good game, I have to say. But in saying all of that, I fancy Palace. I just think they had a little dip and then they've just started to get the wheels in motion again. I think that's a great game for them the other night, obviously away, Watford. Zaha getting the goals and stuff like that. More confidence. Mateta scored. The boy Elise is in and around the place. Edward. Like, I just think they've got lots of options.
With an assist.
Conor Gallagher with a goal and assist. Yeah, I'm going 3-1 Palace.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 3-1 Palace. That's what I'm hoping for. I just, what it is about Burnley. Look, I've viewed respect for Dyche and for Burnley and for what he's done there and stuff like that. But I just, that horrible feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when he does that to your team. He's done it to you guys. He's done it to us. He's done it to Spurs. And I don't know. Sometimes you feel really bad over a loss with your team, but you can take it and go, right, we didn't do this. But when they beat you, it's a real sickening feeling, isn't it? Because it's kind of coming and you can't do anything about it.
And part of it is, and that was my point earlier with the Spurs thing, that part of it is he's very unlikable.
Yeah.
He's very unlikable. Yeah. I don't think there's a thing I like about him. Now, I respect the guy.
Yeah.
And from how I speak, these 2 things are completely different from me. I hate Roy Keane. I absolutely respect them. I've put them into numerous 11s recently. You were like, "Wow, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
Respect and likability are two different things for me. Two different, and I can separate them. Thankfully, I don't like Sean Dyche, but I do respect him. You know, because he's done such a good job there at Burnley. Like he could end up there a long, long time, because if you're Burnley, look at the amount of clubs that have made a change to try and change the style of football, and what happened?
Never going to work there.
Never work. So keep him there and keep beating the drum and stay in the league.
Yeah. The one that jumps to mind is Chris Wilder in Sheffield United. That's the one that jumps to mind straight away when you think like
well, there's loads, didn't they do it? They've done it with so many managers. We want to change the playing style and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they're relegating you, thinking, Jesus, you should have taken that. Things are going well there, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Manchester United versus Watford.
There's only one winner here. One winner here. They'll frustrate us, I'm sure. A Roy Hodgson team, they will frustrate us. They'll get behind the ball. You've got good runners in Josh King and Emmanuel Dennis and stuff like that. And the boy João Pedro, who we've mentioned. But there's just too much quality there at the minute from United. I know we'll probably make a couple of changes, but I think they should have more than enough to get this over the line.
Yeah, I mean, the thoughts of dropping another clanger to these guys, and especially at home, got the crowd to be absolutely intense, to say the least.
Yeah, and I suppose with that in mind, we do owe them one as well, don't we? So I think there might be a little bit of professional pride here, which is something we haven't seen a whole lot of from Manchester United recently.
Yeah.
But you might see somebody in the dressing room turn around and say, "Hey, these fuckers, we owe them. Let's get out and let's bury this one,"
We did say a couple of times on the podcast that United were due to smash a team up, because they had been very unlucky in terms of creating chances, but just not finishing them off. I know they beat Leeds last week, but that didn't feel like smashing a team up, if you know what I mean. It was just a dogged, horrible fight in horrible conditions. This one could be the one where you owe them one, because there's a lot of bragging rights from the other game, where they did a number on you big time. So you're probably due. So this could be potentially one where you go out and you actually go, something, as you said, we owe you one, and here we go.
I don't think these will be expansive enough for us to get at them that in that nature. I think we'll score and we'll beat them, but I don't think this is the team we'll go at. I see, if we were playing Everton this weekend, I'd say there was a chance we'd wallop them. But because of how Hodgson sets up and because of the way he makes things really tight and stuff like that, it obviously wasn't that tight that Palace were able to dig 4 out of them during the week. But I think we'll beat them. I think 3-1. I just think they've a little bit of danger there in us, with the pace that they possess and the way they're able to play on the bounce like that. But we'll do them up here, all right. Yeah, we'll beat them.
Yeah, I think so. I think 3-1. 3-1's about right, all right.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't be surprised if United went rampant, because not only are they due a performance, but they're due a score line that matches a performance, if you know what I mean. The two need to marry at a certain stage,
I don't necessarily think you'll see the performance this week after Tuesday night and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Or Wednesday night. Sorry, I think it'll be a little bit workmanlike at the weekend, a little bit laboured, but I think we'll get through it handy enough. But I just don't think it'll be flashy,
Yeah. Sometimes that's when you find there's trouble, isn't it? When you're going through a laboured sort of workman-like sort of performance, and you're up against those kind of teams that are struggling down the bottom.
Absolutely.
They tend to drag you down to their level, and then it becomes a real tough battle.
And that's what they'll try and do. But I mean, at the minute, especially with the Arsenal result, this evening, this is super important for us to keep that gap as wide as possible.
Yeah.
There's so many teams been doing us favours. I thought Wolves had done us a favour tonight. And the draw would have been just absolutely right up my street, because it would have meant both of them dropping 2 points each, but wasn't to be. But listen, we'll keep going.
Absolutely. The evening kickoff then, Everton versus Man City. Frank struggling at Goodison.
Frank is struggling, but you know what? I have absolutely no sympathy for Frank, and I have even less sympathy for the Everton fans who kicked up a fuss because they wanted Frank Lampard. Sometimes in this world, you reap what you sow.
Could you see a situation where they go down? They're very close.
They're very close. And I believe, am I right in saying if Burnley and Newcastle get results the weekend, Everton are down the bottom three? Is that right?
I shall tell you now, my friend.
I think I looked at this earlier, and I think if Newcastle and Burnley get results,
Burnley would have to win. Newcastle could go above them. No, Newcastle, they'd both have to win.
So if the two lads won, Everton could be in the bottom three going into that game.
Yeah, well, Newcastle are level on points with Everton. They're behind on goal difference by a -7.
So they only need a point, actually, Newcastle. Then.
Yeah, if Everton were to lose, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Burnley are 20, so they're 2 off them. So,
but before kick-off, Newcastle are off first. So that's my point. Newcastle could be above Everton before this game starts.
That would drop them down to 17th. Yeah, they're really, really tight. Both them and Leeds. Leeds are on 23. And even up as far as Brentford, we spoke about Brentford. Brentford are on 24. Yeah. Then there's that bit of a gap between Villa, Leicester, Palace, 27, 27, 29. Yeah. But it's as tight as a duck's ass, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't see Everton getting that nowadays, unfortunately, for any of the Evertonians that might be listening. I just think City are going to have way too much. And I think, it's going to be kind of frantic from Everton because I think they're going to come out and try and panic themselves into a performance. But I think that's going to leave an awful lot of space. And the biggest issue I would have with Everton at the minute is they can't keep shipping goals the way they are.
Yeah, and similar to what we spoke about with Leeds with Ellen Road, Goodison hasn't been that kind of tough place to go to.
Always
season.
A place I absolutely hated to go as a United fan.
Yeah. Them, Burnley and Ellen Road, always.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the minute, 2 of those aren't stacking up at all, and Goodison is one of them. But yeah, this is back to the wall time for Everton. It really is. Now you'd have to think. In the games they've got remaining, we're on week 27, so they've 11 games left. They've got to have 2 or 3 teams that they can beat. 2 or 3 sides lower down in the league that they can go out and put a performance in. Because let's be honest, there's a bit of quality in that Everton squad.
Yeah. The problem is once you fall into that bottom 3, it's like a trapdoor, and trying to climb out of it, the pressure of trying to climb out of that week on week weighs very heavily on some teams. And Everton have been there before and they did climb out of it. But I don't know. Just there's so many problems there at the moment. The fan base, the stuff with Rafa, everything that went on, pulling the club apart. The boys, the management team in there and the owner sitting back and letting things unfold the way they did. Lampard coming in, trying to get it going and stuff like that, bringing in Donny van de Beek, and you know what I mean. There's a lot of problems there at the moment,
And the Donny van de Beek thing has posed as many questions as it has answered, because he's 2 games into his Everton career. I think most people would agree on his first game, he was probably man of the match.
Yeah, it was the 50-50 or phone a friend, wasn't it? He's had 1 game absolutely brilliant and 1 game absolutely shocking.
Shocking.
Yeah.
So where are we in Donny van de Beek again? Is he this guy that's going to be able to go and do this in the Premier League? Or is he this guy, it's sink or swim time for Donny, I really think now. He needs a couple of big performances between now and the end of the season. Or I could see him heading back to Ajax. I could see him ending back up in that Dutch league and at that level, and just, being the slightly bigger fish in a small pond type thing.
Yeah, you kind of look at it and you wonder, would Newcastle have been the better option, really? Going to Everton, you know what I mean, and going there on loan. In so much trouble there, so many issues, and going there and then trying to, I won't say resurrect your career in the Premier League, because he's never really got his career going in it. But trying to resurrect your career there and try to stand out in that team there that has so many problems.
And you see, I think there was an even better fit for him, which was the one that his father-in-law put the phone call in for. When he called Patrick Vieira and said, listen, Donny's available. What do you think? And Vieira says, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And he went to United, and United said, no, it's not happening. And in the end, he was able to say, listen, I need to play games. I need you to get me out of here. And Obviously, Everton popped up at the last minute and Lampard and stuff like that. But I think Palace would have been ideal for him.
Yeah, we said it on the show, didn't we? Him and Conor Gallagher,
yeah.
we said it on the show, didn't we? Yeah, it's a great show.
And you know, a nice tough tackle and Czech Kwiaty or someone like that in there, a ball winner, a guy that's gonna, you know, hassle and harry fellas. And he could have been the little bit of quality and the little bit of magic dust that just sprinkled itself around Selhurst Park and really.
Yeah, I mean, even when you look at Palace and they play, even when they drop a result and stuff like that, there is players in there who still play with a bit of confidence. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even though they might get done 3-1, there's still a confidence to their play. You know what I mean? Look, going in there coaching under Patrick Vieira as well. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Because I think there's a lot he could have learned from someone like Vieira.
Yeah.
You see, I don't necessarily think he'll learn an awful lot from Lampard. I don't mean that in a disrespectful sort of way. I think because he's a very similar sort of player to Lampard. Yeah. You know, that kind of guy who was creative, who arrived late, who had an eye for goals, stuff like that. I think he's very similar. Whereas I think if he ends up at Palace, you've got Vieira saying to him, "Okay, Donny, you need to go in and do him." You know, I think he needs to be nastified a little bit. Yeah. And he needs to be able to put his foot in and kind of go by a fella and shove him and
welcome to the real world of the Premier League.
Absolutely.
This is the real world of it.
Yeah, 100%.
What are you thinking then on this one?
I've said it. This is the third time I said this to me. 3-1.
3-1, yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be a tough day for Everton. Of course, it's not often in these moments that I would go to church and light a candle for Everton, but I might light a candle for Everton this weekend because, you know, anywhere where they can pull City up or anyone can pull City up. I know it's in our hands, but I don't expect us to run out winners for the rest of the league. We've got a tough month ahead of us. So anything that any team can do to help us would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, I think around the 3-1. Matter of fact, I don't know whether City might even concede. I don't think they will. I think probably 3-0 maybe. 3-0. West Ham versus Wolves.
Yeah, West Ham have started to falter a little bit, haven't they? They've kind of hit the skids a little bit again. We kind of foresaw this. We did say this might happen. The goals were going to dry up, and you know, Mikel Antonio looks like a guy who needs a break at the minute because things aren't working his way.
Now, Mikel Antonio, it looks like a guy who needs to just play in his actual position and stop fucking around.
Well, I don't know whether they'd be better off playing Jared Bowen as the 9 for the next couple of games and maybe getting the likes of a Ben Ram and a Fornals or a Lanzini in behind him. Because he's already taken up the mantle of scoring the goals, but he's doing it from a wider position. Whereas at least if you put him down the middle, you know, he's got the pace, you know, he can go at guys and stuff like that. He certainly won't work as a target man the way Antonio will. But I mean, Antonio's performances over the last few weeks have been very, very poor from me. I expect an awful lot more from him because I know he's a seasoned veteran now, Mikel Antonio. He really, really is.
He's the focal point for their goals. I know Jared Bowen's been exceptional, but he's the focal point for their goals and he's playing like a fucking winger. Wake up, man. He
is. And I mean, listen, this isn't something West Ham didn't know. You know, as we spoke about before, they had money down on the table for 3 or 4 guys in January and just couldn't get deals. Well, the Zapata deal was the last minute deal. That was where they were trying to just get a loan deal even. But I mean, they had big money down for the boy Darwin Núñez at Benfica. There was 48 million on the table for him. And they just couldn't come to an agreement with Benfica and stuff like that. I think Benfica said they also didn't see themselves getting a replacement in quick enough for him and stuff like that. So that left the door.
It seemed very last minute with West Ham as well, though, didn't it?
It didn't seem, they didn't seem to plan
you have a whole month to do your business, strengthen your squad, push for a top 4 place. You know what I mean? And it's last minute shit. It drives me mad. Like.
Absolutely. And the only thing I will say about January, and not to give West Ham a get out of jail free card, I think in January more than the summer window, you do have that merry-go effect where you're waiting on a guy to move to set the chain in motion. You know, one guy leaves a club, all of a sudden they've a few pounds, they go and get the next one, that moves the whole. And I think in January that always makes things quite tough, and you have to wait very late in the day for someone to make the first move. And by the time that happens, all of a sudden you're going, I don't have any more moves here. This is, 9 o'clock on a Monday night here. We're not going to get anyone here. But I think Wolves obviously tonight, again, they were unlucky. They played very well. probably should have got something out of the game against Arsenal, if I'm honest. Deserved something. I know Arsenal kept knocking on the door and stuff, to their credit. But I think Wolves certainly should have got something tonight, and I think they'll get something on Sunday. I think we'll go. I think we'll go 2-2 on Sunday. I think there'll be goals, and I think it'll be 2-2.
Yeah, I'm thinking around the same, probably a draw. But I'm interested to think. I wonder whether we'll see Ben Rama or not. That was a feisty little substitution there the other night. And it's a brave man that would stare down at David Moyes.
Yeah, listen, I just think at times fellas are letting their egos get in the way, aren't they?
I like the stare down, though, because Ben Rama turned away first and Moyes kept the stare there. So there was only one winner.
Absolutely. And like, when I was watching the United game last night, in a not in a similar instance, but when Ralph was taking Pogba off, I kind of thought, I loved the idea of him not thinking, I can't take this guy off. And I was kind of waiting on Pogba to throw a little bit of a strop, and I was just thinking to myself, wouldn't it be great if Ralph just said, would you keep yourself on looking at your performance tonight? And that should be as easy as it should be for managers, Listen, have a look at the tape. Tell me if you'd kept yourself on. Tell me what, you know what I mean? Now, in the heat of the moment, things can get tasty at times, can't they?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even like to discuss some of the things I've done in changing rooms. Let's not even discuss them.
It makes the boot of Beckham's head even mild. Nothing at all.
Very mild.
Absolutely.
Almost schoolboyish. I'll tell you off air when we're done.
I don't know though. If I went down in the locker room, would you be putting your money on Moyes? I'd be putting my money on Moyes.
Well, listen, he's a Scot. The boys can handle himself. The only thing I will say is, Ben Rama, he kind of has those crazy eyes going on, doesn't he? That he looks like some sort of psycho killer, and you just think, not sure. Would he behead me? Probably. Would he sleep soundly at night? Definitely. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind a bucket of popcorn having a look at it though. Yeah,
Moyes battle hardened from his time on Merseyside, so yeah, be interesting though. Could be on the undercard for a Jake Paul event or something like that. Let's finish out then with Tuesday. Well, not finish out because I want to touch on one other, but we finish out Burnley versus Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester obviously had a good night tonight in the Europa, But I was listening to again some of the commentary, and the team that they beat 3-1 had 24 attempts at goal. Now, as far as I know, these lads are butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. And Leicester are coughing up this amount of chances. Now, I know Madison got a couple and they got over the line 6-3, I think it was on aggregate, but you're just thinking, 24 chances is a lot, lads. I think this is the type of game that'll suit Burnley down to the ground. This is like a soft-centered Spurs coming to Turf Moor. This will be a soft-centered sort of Leicester coming to Turf Moor. I'm going with Burnley here.
This is James Maddison going up into the air off a tough tackle within 5 minutes or something, isn't it? Someone's sticking it to him.
This is his counterpart in James Tarkowski putting bullet holes in him before there's a ball even kicked, because he's a tough lad, that boy Tarkowski.
Yeah.
Really, really is. There's a couple more back there, Ben Mee, Charlie Taylor and stuff like that. I'm gonna go 2-1 Burnley on that. I think Burnley will have enough to do Leicester up at Turf Moor and make things really, really awkward for Brendan Rodgers.
I'm gonna go with a draw. But I think the danger there is probably the boy V-Horse who has come in. I think he's been a very shrewd signing by Dyche, but he's come in against that centre-back pairing. Yeah. Very iffy this season.
And with 2 games this weekend, he might be somebody you look to bring into your fantasy football team with a double game week. Just throwing it out there.
Absolutely. Let's finish up then the small little mention of a Carabao Cup final on Sunday. Chelsea versus Liverpool. Thoughts? I'm going to be doing a preview with Ian, obviously. Ian's going to come on. We're going to do a preview in advance of that. But give us your thoughts on
it. I can only see one winner, man, if I'm honest. Liverpool are in unbelievable form at the minute. We've seen them play really well in tough teams. We've seen them play really poorly and still beat teams. They have a full squad. There's no injuries. Chelsea have been very, very poor. They're struggling in lots of different areas in the pitch. They picked up a win the other night against a poor Lille side, but for me, this possibly won't even be a contest, and I mean that. Again, with the utmost respect, I think Liverpool could do big damage here on Sunday. If he goes out with what you have on to offer, if he goes out with Mane, Diaz, Salah, I could see them blowing Chelsea away. This game could be over after 60 minutes.
Interesting. I'd like to think that way, but I think it's probably going to be a little bit tighter. I'm not too sure, because I think when you have the quality in there of Thiago Silva and stuff like that, it's hard to blow Chelsea away. I do think that time when we played them and we went 2-0 up, and then Kovacic scored that fantastic worldie as well. I don't know how many times you offer that up, you know what I mean? I think Liverpool, in terms of the options that they have now and the run that they're on and the momentum that they have going, I think if they were to pull 2 goals ahead in the final on Sunday, I don't think they'd offer it up as easy as they did with the 2 draws in the 2 league games.
No. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm thinking it'll be a little bit tighter. I think maybe 2-1.
I'm gonna go 3-1.
I'm gonna go 3-1. 1 for each of the boys up front.
2 for Salah. 1 for Diaz.
He's going in again. Is he going in? That doesn't count. Does that count in the fantasy? No.
Nope.
So Sevilla horse is nailed on.
I might have to airmail him out this week because he's no game on.
Yeah. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. As always, drop your predictions down there as well. Please drop them in there and drop your comments and subscribe as well. We have some lovely t-shirts you can see behind me there and snapback caps to give away, and we also have some mugs. So if you drop your predictions in there, whoever does very, very well will find themselves on the receiving end of a nice little care package.
I'm gonna have my gear on the next time everyone sees me, because I'm coming to see you in the morning in the shop. Is that right, Niall?
Oh, that's good. You reminded me. Yeah, so I have to remind you. I dig that out. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not in the shop. The stuff is here. So yeah.
There absolutely. You go.
There you go. Good call. Good call, my friend. Good call.
Thanks.
Good call. Well, until next time. The Upper Tier on YouTube. Audio is Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Until next time, my friend, a pleasure.
As always.